See.
Hey, Bruce, if we're in, do we need to go to that new, it looks like the same numbers. Do we need to do anything different
Now, if you're in, you're good.
already?
Yeah, Bruce, I couldn't get in with the regular.
Yeah,
code.
we know. I'm not sure what happened on the link that we sent.
So I went back by another route and finally got in here.
Now, let's see. Gallery view. Let's see, do we? Trying to see if I've got any more people joining. Well, let's. See if I can do a share screen and get it to work right. Nope. Oh. Yeah, oh, darn. For some reason my share screen is not working too well.
We could see it.
Yeah, but you couldn't see the screen I wanted you to see.
Whoops.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna, let's see.
Hey, Bruce, go back. We need to see the count number again.
Oh. I'm gonna leave the meeting and then sign back in and see if it fixes stuff. So hang on, I'll be right back.
I think if you leave, we all leave, don't we?
I just got the email with the new link.
So far, we're all here. I guess we made it.
Okay, so I am back. Let's see if my screen share is working. Hey, Nick, good to see you. You're back in the stairwell again, huh?
Oh yeah, back in the stairwell. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you could make it. Let's try sharing the screen again and see if I get any luckier with this one. No. Is recording. Oh. Well, I may have to mess with this a little bit more. Let's go ahead and start the meeting. Let's see what I can do. Oh, hang on. Let's see if I can do this the right way. Okay, so we got the flag. Everybody see the flag?
Yes.
I
Read the flag.
We got it.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Let's go ahead and start. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I want to thank everybody for joining today. And I'm actually going to rearrange the program because Ed, you're still on a tight schedule, right?
I just got to go by about 5 till.
Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and introduce Ed first, so and then we'll do announcements afterwards. And let's see if I can do another screen share. So let me do a no, that's not what I want to do. See if I can do.
I got it.
Yep. Still can't do the right thing.
Jefferson City.
We close this and open.
Admitting people.
Who else we got?
Yeah,
Oh, you want close? You want close email?
and open email again.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and introduce Ed and then we'll get Ed on. So again, I want to thank Ed for substituting. He agreed to substitute yesterday about 1 p.m. I think, or no, it was more like 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Our previous speaker, Admiral Caudill, got called away to do a brief Friday afternoon. So we appreciate Ed jumping in and stepping up for us. So Ed is a native of Glendora, California, and an avid Dodger fan. So he's been very happy this year. He's a 1990 graduate of the United States Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineer, and he holds an MBA from Indiana University. His sea tours included tours on Newport News and Ohio Blue Crew. He was executive officer on Jefferson City, SSN 759. And one of his COs on Jefferson City was Admiral Caudill. So Ed is backing up the CO again. So we appreciate that. 4 years after being XO on Jefferson City, Ed came back in, let's see, what was it, 2008 to take over as CO. And in the interim, between his XO and CO slot, he completed the Perisher course in the UK.
Yeah.
And I think it was
the ahi instead of the steak.
It's Netflix or something that had a series on the Perisher course from a few years ago. So it was a pretty impressive class. Let's see, after command at Jefferson City, after he turned it over to Brian Dixon, he headed back east for a while in legislative affairs. Then he made the transition into the acquisition community. Came back out to San Diego as at SPAWAR as the, let's see, he was running the Common Radio Submarine radio room and major program manager for PMW 770. He was selected for flag rank while at SPAWAR and became the deputy commander for the let's see, FRD, the Fleet Readiness Directorate. He headed back east in June of 2019 to take over his current position at NAVSEA as Commander for Undersea Warfare and C7. So Ed, let me go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Bruce. It's as I was clawing my way around the room, I'm not really good at Zoom. I see a few names out there that I recognize, and Brian Dixon, we have more crossings than just being COs. Brian also relieved me as weapons officer on Ohio. So there's a pretty neat link there. Brian didn't like it either time he turned over with me.
That's
But,
not true. It was an experience both times.
Anyway, so it's been quite a trip in the last I guess in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. I'll admit, I was never thinking about being a flag. All I really wanted to do from probably the time I was department head was command a ship and then become program manager, and that's really what I wanted to do. And then my program manager time got cut short because I got selected for flag and I had to move on. So it's been quite a ride. I got to say, getting inside, SPAWAR was one introduction to the flag wardroom. I spend more time inside the E-ring or in the E-ring of the Pentagon than I ever imagined taking over this job. And Bruce, I gave you sent you a brief. Are you able to show that, or is that just too hard?
I was there. Let me see if I can get it to work right for me this time.
Probably just eating while you're,
Oh, you're on, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we take it back?
yeah, I think so.
Let's see what we
And I got to say, so not everybody's muted out there, so we're hearing the background conversations. So I'll just I'll pull up the brief,
Good.
and I can kind of give this in my sleep most of the time anyway. So CO7 is not, if any of you knew CO7 from even 2 years ago, it's not the same CO7. The construct of the previous CO7 was Chief Technology Officer, Com Newick, and CO7. And with the stand-up of PEO Columbia, there was a whole reshuffling inside of Team Sub, and that has really changed what the job is. And so I am now focused purely on, if you want to go to the second slide, Bruce. One click only. Yeah, there we go. So this is really my world, and PMS 392 at the top is that's a major program manager for in-service submarine and inactivations. I spend most of my time in that realm. So it's a pretty big budget. It's a few hundred, getting towards several $100 million a year, and the thing that didn't used to be in the portfolio that is now is fast tack major availabilities in the private sector. So most of our submarine overhauls happen in the naval shipyards. Carriers and nuclear submarines are largely overhauled in the naval shipyards. Few exceptions for RCOHs at Newport News Shipbuilding. And a few years ago, we've always dribbled out little things to the private sector, but now we have one submarine, USS Columbus, a pack boat over in Newport News, and we're spending now if you could go back, there you go. We're spending large amounts of money doing major overhauls for fast tack submarines in the private sector. So this was a little bit of a surprise for Newport News. Previously, Montpelier went to electric boat for an interim dry docking. That was also a bit of a surprise. And neither of the private companies is doing as it's a relearning experience. I'll just say that. So I spend a huge amount of time working on that, and we're working to do a better job of describing the work to be done. We're doing a much better job of overseeing the work, and we're trying to create a long-term plan for that without damaging the capability that's in the public shipyards. So that is a large amount of what I'd spend my time on, but we're also dealing with a huge amount of, and I'm going to get to it in a couple slides, a huge amount of other sustainment issues, largely obsolescence. So as I make my way around the wheel here, so I own the training systems that we field to the naval training centers, submarine learning centers, and including we've just recently pushed out our second multi-level firefighting trainer. So out of USS Miami came a need, recognizing a need that hey, we don't really train how we might have to fight. So multi-level, very high heat trainers. So we've got them in 2 places. We're going to get them into all but one of our submarine learning centers. Big deal. So that the crews can really get in and you know, the flashover that you see on that picture there, that's we can't let that happen. So getting to the seat of the fire quickly and uninterruptedly applying extinguishing agent of whatever type is critical to possibly to even saving the ship, but certainly from reaching flashover, very difficult to contain a fire after that. On a happier note, so we're fielding on just a continuous basis, a steady stream of, you see the VSCOT there, so Virginia class pilot training, so there's a pilot and co-pilot, not a helm dive, outboard, chief of the watch. So there's two senior operators. It's a fly-by-wire system, and getting the sets and reps needed to become expert at that is really critical. So we have pushed a couple very high fidelity trainers to each site, but we've also pushed some very inexpensive double two-headed double station monitors that just let people get in, run procedures, get good at procedures. So we're using the very expensive, very high demand, high-end trainers. We're making best use of that time, which is just critical. A lot of our training sites are running 180% of normal capacity to meet the fleet needs. So lot to be proud of there for the submarine force. Yeah, so I own logistics for Undersea. My people do on a daily basis get into finding parts around the world and solving those things. It's really not their day job. It has become their day job. What I really need them doing, I'll get to in a couple slides, is being more strategic and finding where friction points are going to be. So we'll come to that. So I am the submarine subsafe certifying authority for the Navy. So if you guys remember out of the 1963 and 64 deep dives after the loss of Thresher, there was a statement by one senator that there needs to be one officer who is responsible. Well, you're talking to him. So that is a key part. So it was subsafe. You see the DSS there, deep submergence systems, and then the FBW is fly-by-wire. So Seawolf partly and Virginia completely is a fly-by-wire system. So the closed loop, the yokes that you used to drive a submarine by, those are no more. So we had to assure that the fly-by-wire system on any ship should be able to recover from all casualties and return the ship to the surface safely. So the last two, the two on the left there, so you see 391, 399, very related separate program offices. I'm going to come to that later, but you see some of the cool gear we got there. And then SubMep. So I don't know how much people really know about SubMep. Oh, by the way, inside of 392 is PMT. So I own the funding for all the performance monitoring teams, and we're working to use the data coming out of that better. But SubMep is a pretty neat organization. Just over 230 people up on Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in New Hampshire or Maine, depending on who you believe. They are the true brains and analytic people for class maintenance plans, which I'll tell you, even when I was CEO, I didn't think about a class maintenance plan. You know, I was XO for DMP at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. I didn't really understand what was behind that, didn't really care. All I wanted was my ship back. Well, so now we're working hard to use data analytics and get the ship back as fast as possible. What Admiral Caudle and Admiral Converse are stating very loudly is the exact duration is actually not their main focus. They just want to have a dependable end date. Tell me what the end date's going to be and then deliver it then. So we're working real hard with SubMep and CO4, who the industrial operations deputy here, of getting the duration of those major availabilities correct. There's a lot of things that go into that. I won't bore you with it, but just know that that group of professionals up there, a lot of engineers, they're working hard to make sure that we get it right for the ship. So if you go to the next slide, my screen's frozen now. So here are our mission priorities. So bottom line is, so that first statement is kind of a duh statement, right? No kidding. I'm trying to maximize the operational time and the operational capability. And those two things actually fight each other, because installing new capability takes time. So we're fighting hard. That's another facet of my job, coordinating modernization of all undersea platforms, is trying to get that right. Having the material, having these ship bolts right, complete, and able to be performed inside the nominal duration of major availability. It's a lot of effort. The end goal is to have every platform ready to fight. And fit to the fight. So as you've heard about our global competition, and there's some notion that we've always run the exercise of how fast can you get any particular ship underway or the fleet underway, and so that is in the front of our mind a lot. You see our priorities down there. We do have, I'm not going to get into too many details about Virginia class material issues, but each block of ships that's built is just a little bit different than the previous one, as the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, the builders of the ships, and their subprimes and sub-subprimes are dealing with obsolescence in the real world, turns into a sustainment issue for my folks and I, and an operational availability issue for the fleet. So we're working really hard to understand that, working with the Virginia Program Office to do that. So Los Angeles class, hey, we're extending those again. We're going to refuel at least 5, probably 7 of the later Los Angeles class, and they're going to run for a long time. The cool part about the Los Angeles and the Ohios is they weren't designed by supercomputers, and that turns out to be a good thing. And they were built by a lot of human hands, almost exclusively by human hands. So the design has a tremendous amount of margin in it, and that margin means that I can absorb a whole lot of corrosion. It was built with non-exquisite materials, HY80, so cracking and crack propagation are not non-issues, but they're small issues on those ships, and we're doing a really good job of keeping track of them. So me extending, I own the life extension of those things ultimately, and my ability to say yes to platform life extensions is pretty wide open. So we are going to refuel those Los Angeles class. We are going to extend some Ohio class even longer on a case-by-case basis. We're working on that. SecDef asked that question last year. And it's been a thing we've been working really hard ever since with N97 in the fleet. And then the warfighting availability. So when ships aren't in major availability, having them at an ASAB of 1.0 is a big deal. Not ever being down because of CASREP or material non-availability is what we're fighting for. Okay, if you can go to the next slide. So here's some things. I kind of talked about this, private availabilities and coming up with a 15-year plan for how we're going to do that. Why not a 10-year plan? Because 10-year plan cuts off too soon and it doesn't make us make hard decisions. So I pushed it out to 15 so we could get to some harder conversations and some harder decisions, more concrete decisions. I talked a little bit about the data analytics that we're doing. You know, so we created this thing, SubMap on their own created this thing called iForecast. You know, we put an I in front of everything that's supposed to be intelligent. So it uses data analytics, and what have we suffered from the past? What took a long time to get? And it's informing NAVSEA and Defense Logistics Agency, DLA, of what to go buy and have on the shelf. Go buy it 5 years ahead of time. So 2 years ahead of major availability, it's on a shelf somewhere for the naval shipyards to say, oh, I need that. Send that to me in a year. So that we don't get into major availabilities and we're literally sitting still with a ship in the yard because we don't have that part, because it doesn't have a national stock number, or it doesn't have a usage that demands to have one on the shelf, or almost worse, we go and cannibalize from operational ships or ships that are just entering those major availabilities. So those are some of the symptoms that I'm trying to cure, the CANABs and the long delay time. And then the Secretary Gertz talks about his favorite things are R&D, and that's rip off and deploy. So the RCB you see there is Reliability Control Board, and so it was instituted by the aviation community, but we stole it, and there's an algorithm behind all the data, behind the model, and so we stole the aviation world's RCB, and we dove deep into their algorithm. We tweaked it, we modified it, renovated it for ourselves, and it's working pretty good. And we're actually already, we only did that earlier this year, and we're already seeing some ASO positive impacts on that. So that's going to be great to get back to VCNO and be able to say, hey, we have tangible data that we're moving the bar, we're moving the needles, which is the fleet commander's demand. So the excellence at sea. So I talked about trainers. So kind of some of this here. You know, we're enabling distant learning for submariners. We're getting into the world of UUVs and other support in the SMIDI to allow crews that are going to employ those platforms at sea to practice it. And we're moving further. You know, so iForecast is really leaning into major availabilities. So the model-based product support is for the at-sea fleet, the outside of major availabilities. It's a different problem. It's a different challenge. So it's really a leap forward into being smart about what we're doing and using the data and the computing power we have to get after it. All right, Bruce, if you go forward one more. I think the next one, there we go. So what we have is a bit of a tale of two fleets. So this is a projection of the age of our submarine fleet. And it is a bit of a bathtub as we, you know, the peace dividend and the truncating of the Seawolf buy at 3 ships. So you see that Virginia is, gosh, I can't see it, it's too small. Virginia is 15 years old, if you can believe that. And Texas and Hawaii are 13 years old. And then you see 1 a year going down. Now we're building them 2 a year, started that in 11 or 12. But you see the Los Angeles class way out to the right. And you all know, we've retired half of the Los Angeles class that was originally built. We retired half are left. And as I stated, so you see the, you know, kind of the 2 or 3 biggest columns on the left of that is we're going to refuel those ships, and they weren't meant to be refueled, but we have cores, and we're going to be able to go do that and extend their life. So the hull is not really the problem. Rotating machinery and things that 08 is Naval Reactors is working on. So it's really exciting, really exciting. We got to keep up with. You're going to extend the life of those things. You got to make them relevant warfighting platforms. So modernization is going to be part of those refueling overhauls. As we kind of pulled their engineered overhaul into a combined refueling engineered overhaul to modernize them and refuel them at the same time. This is a really great success story for the Navy, for the submarine force, as we are. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be a success story, and you guys should be proud of that. You know, so I last summer I was in Indianapolis for the 74th reunion of USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser. Many of you know that she carried the final parts for the atomic weapon that was the first atomic weapon that was dropped, and I believe it was the first, and then got underway from I don't know if it was Saipan, and a Japanese submarine sinker, and there were 1,300 people on board that ship, and over 1,000 died. So there's still 12 of them alive, and I believe 7 of them were at that reunion. That was really, really neat. It was also partly a pre-celebration of the new USS Indianapolis, an LCS, I believe LCS 13, and that was about to be commissioned a week or two later. And it struck me as one of the lone, Bill Tody is big into the Indianapolis crowd up there. So I wanted to give a shout out to Bill. Some of you probably know him. I was looking around going, hey, but what about the submarine in the middle? And not many people knew much about it. So I was the standing guest speaker as Bill couldn't make it for that one. And I gave a little bit of a history of the submarine Indianapolis, I believe SSN 697, and it was one of the casualties of the peace dividend, right? So we recycled a lot of Los Angeles class submarines that were really in the first half of their life. I believe they're D1G core, so they could be refueled and would have likely been, but we saved the money, and those ships disappeared. So you can't see it on this life cycle chart because they were all to the right hand side. They would have been gone by now through natural course. A reference there, not a history lesson for you guys. Oh, the dog's not happy. All right, Bruce, if you can go on to the next slide.
Hey, stop it.
So, one thing, so to get after submarine sustainment and private avails. You guys may have heard there are no new billets around. So I've done some moving inside of the program office. I've also endeavored to combine 2 program offices into one. So it will provide one program office that does special missions, including soft support and undersea rescue. So if you can go to the next slide, Bruce. So this, and what that did for me is it yielded me a handful of billets that I'm moving over to help oversee private submarine availabilities, SSN availabilities in the private sector. So this slide shows the kind of conjoining of those things into the new program office, PMS 390. And we have some pretty good rescue gear, but I'm having obsolescence issues there too, and sustainment issues, and that's kind of really a bit of old technology. And then the right hand side, the special operations, man, they're going 100 miles an hour, and keeping them up to date and being able to support. So my job for that is to support it, to mind the platform, the submarine. Special forces bring their gear, they're responsible for their gear, and the interface is largely dry deck shelter. So in that bottom picture there, and in the second picture, you see a dry deck shelter on the back of a submarine. So we're putting those on Virginia class submarines. We did a fit up this summer. We have our newest modified DDS that is about to be delivered, and as the SSGNs retire in early 26, 2 in early 26, 1 in 27, 1 in 28, we've got to get to new platforms, and those are Virginias. So the Los Angeles class did have a capability for that. We're putting our eggs in the Virginia basket, and they're built to support special operations capability, and we're working hard to make that as flexible as possible for our special forces. So the one really neat capability that it reached its IOC last year was the transfer under pressure capability that our submarine rescue system has. So the submarine rescue system can rescue almost 24 people at a time. But being able to get them into 1 atmosphere pressure is a real challenge. So the transfer under pressure system takes them from whatever the pressure they were rescued at, keeps them at that pressure, transfers them into this this new capability we have, and allows us to decompress the crew slowly over time as they need to avoid the bends and decompression sickness. So that's a really, really great capability that the country invested in. It is now an operational capability and another thing to be really, really proud of. And so I wanted to make you guys aware of that as we continue to move technology and our capability forward. And I believe that is my last slide. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Oh. Oh. No, don't have any.
Mr. Fishback.
Yes, good seeing you.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
One question I had is, what is A sub-zero? I must have missed something in nuke school.
No, it's not nuke school. So as we've, so A sub-zero is an availability. It's an expression of availability. So capital A, little zero. So it's operational availability. So we have several availabilities. So A sub M is material availability. So that's a measure. So it's all acquisition stuff, but also in supply world. So we also measure MTBF, mean time between failure, MLDF, mean logistics delay, or MLDT, mean logistics delay time. So a whole new alphabet I've learned in the last few years in the acquisition world. It all matters.
I thought maybe it went with DHMO or whatever those fire control terms were that we had to learn in the old days.
Oh goodness, I'm glad they're gone. No. I still have dreams about those. Dreams, nightmares, one of the two.
And what is the Los Angeles class now through all the DMPs and into their final phase on, after refueling?
Yes. So our engineered overhaul is the last big thing that the Los Angeles class is going to go through. So so I've got Columbus 762 and Boise 764 in Norfolk or Newport News shipbuilding right now, and you see the march on of the 760s into major availabilities in the public yards also. So they're coming through their last EOH. DMPs are all done. We are doing some SRAs, but as time marches on, so I own the class maintenance plan through SubMep. We keep changing the acronym. I think it's to protect the guilty, but we're trying to get it right. So as we learn more about the ships, and we continue to evolve the. I think we're just learning the Virginia class pretty much, and we're going to modify it. We've already modified the class maintenance plan, and we're going to continue to modify it to both maximize the operational availability of those platforms and to mitigate or correct material deficiencies as we learn about them, just like we did with every other class we've ever built.
Thank you, Admiral.
Yep.
This is Keith Fargo. SOCOM and the Navy are buying a lot of UUVs and from commercial vendors. And what's your relationship with the commercial vendors and SOCOM and bringing them into the fleet?
So directly, not much. But indirectly, a lot. So every time, if SOCOM's Naval Special Warfare Command wants to bring one of those vehicles onto a submarine, we will be so I also responsible for modernization, ship alt, temp alt approval. So that comes through here, and it's all. Our concern is not the capability that they're bringing. Our concern is the safety of the platform. So. So you can say we're the gate guard. Some people would say that we're the impediment to fast movement. But we really, sitting on my desk is the Thresher report. And, we got to be mindful of things we were supposed to learn from there. We were trying to go fast. We weren't paying close enough attention. Admiral Rickover pointed out very directly that there was a dichotomy in standards from the aft end of the ship to the forward end of the ship. And we've all heard the creepy nukism accusation, but there's something about having a well understood standard and abiding by it. And if it doesn't meet your requirements, then let's have a conversation about the standard and is it too high? But we don't have those conversations about individual templates. We step back and have those conversations separately so that we can ensure the safety and the survivability of ships. I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
Can I make a comment about Thresher? I'm the guy, the jerk that's suing the Navy on the Thresher report, and we're learning a lot on that. It's really good information. Navy's done a very good job putting the information out. At this last 300-page dump, we learned that the drain pump couldn't handle any excess leakage at test depth. It was not designed that way. It's quite shocking.
So I'm going to admit that you probably know more than I do about some of that. I have people who are reviewing that. It's also being reviewed by Navy lawyers and others. So yeah, we're working at the steadiest sustainable pace we can. I appreciate the comment.
Navy's done a very good job, and the families are reading it, and the families are interested, and it's all going well. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I see John Doney out there too. Long time ago shipmate. What's going on, John? You got anything?
No, I'm just happy to see the submarine rescues going well. That was my last swan song on active duty. So.
Yeah, Ed, can you see the questions on the chat?
I was looking at the.
I think
I can. I got it. You want me to go back to the top?
Yeah, there's one from Don, I think.
Yeah. I had a question, Admiral. A few years back, Archie Clemens shared with us that what we had thought the Navy was in charge of technology progress with the mil-spec system, he said, that's all gone. That now the game systems actually are the ones driving technology improvements. And the answer for that was to establish baseline years so that we had some stability and that we had some commonality in technology. I just wonder whether or not that's carried through, how that's working, and whether or not we're scrambling to keep up with technology.
So, I dealt with this at SPAWAR also. So we don't do, so the short answer is yes. Yes, it is working. So we don't do state of the art. We do state of the shelf. And that was true at NAVWAR. So there is some exquisite capability that we're not going to talk about. But by and large, the C4I, the combat systems we're putting on the ship are state of the shelf. It is commonly accessible, computing capability. Our trouble is that, 2 years after you bought it to install it on the ship, that ship may be out of its major availability, and Dell or anybody else who made that stuff doesn't make that version anymore. So that is the sustainment challenge now. We do have baselines. So we have TI APBs in our swiftest systems. Had large, Common Submarine Radio Room had baselines, has baselines that it's marching to. Every ship has, its logical step forward. Some of them are leaps. It depends on how many years in between. But yes, we're still using baselines. We are learning from the gaming industry. So a lot of our trainers, my training software is based on a video game backbone, and it's easy to program. It's easy to train people to do. It is very high fidelity, and we're using. So another technology we're using is laser scanning inside of submarines, and being able to capture a space with one video and laser scan. You got to do it from multiple angles, multiple places. But instead of us trying to turn 2D drawings into a 3D moving video, we're capturing it just like you would expect a high-end organization would, and it works really well. So yes, and more. I see. So Jeff Hoyle, hey Jeff, how are you? Been a long time since we've seen each other. So the question was, is NAVSEA conducting analysis to support sustainment efforts for Battle Force 2045? And the answer is yes. So I'll tell you, NAVSEA was actually in front of it. And there's a Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Plan, SIOP, S-I-O-P, which some of you would recognize from something else. And that SIOP is a 21-year plan. Last number I heard was $20 billion to upgrade the infrastructure. I was just down at Norfolk Naval Shipyard last week, and the shipyard commander down there reminded me that shipyard's as old as this country. So some of the dry docks are over 100 years old, and dry docks have a nominal lifetime, in my recollection, of 50 years, and we're taking them well past that. So we need to reinvest in that infrastructure. There is a plan for it. And so the other important part is we're building Virginia payload modules, which are much longer than Virginia's, which are a little longer than Los Angeles class. They don't fit in some dry docks. So Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is building new dry docks up there. They're deeper and longer than other dry docks we have. So that's part of how we're going after solving that. And I see a question from Pete. After refueling the 688s, how long will they remain? So that remains to be seen. So I think it is very ship specific. And I'll tell you, whatever answer I give you today, I'm going to change it in 5 years because we're going to know more about that specific ship. And what I will promise you is those ships will go until their logical, safe end of life. And so that is a promise that they're going to go farther than I could probably tell you today. But no promises. I'm not the one that'll have to own up to delivering on that. So I'm not going to give you a number. But it's going to be money well worth it. Some ships going 7 years longer, 10 years longer, possibly after refueling. Details to come. Charles McVean asked, how are the shipyards doing in maintaining qualified workforce levels? So we have, I am not a naval shipyard expert, but what I have learned, so we're hiring, we had hired furiously in previous years. The shipyards are now up at a stable workforce level they think is going to enable them to be successful. To call it a green workforce is a bit of a misnomer because there's a huge amount of the workforce that has significant experience and are not journeyman craftsmen. They're getting towards master craftsmen. They're not apprentice. They're journeymen, strong journeymen heading towards master performers in whatever their trade is. So we're very conscious of it. We're working very hard on it to make sure that we have the capability as well as the talent that we need in quantity required.
So Ed, what relationship do you have with the URC here in North Island?
Yeah, so PMS 399, 391, going to be 390. So we're the supporting program office for that. So we have a pretty good relationship, pretty tight. Admiral Converse and I are in touch multiple times a year on that command and making sure that we are supporting both the platform and the crew there as well as we can.
Good crew.
Okay, so Ed, I think you have to take off now, right?
Yeah, I got to bug out, but it was great seeing some old time or known some of you for a long time. So it's other than Dodgers depriving me of sleep for the last couple months. My wife keeps asking when we're going to go back to San Diego, and I don't have an answer for her. But
so, well, one, I want to give Ed a round of applause from everybody.
Yeah. Admiral, thank you very much for a great brief.
Yeah, and we do have a gift that we're going to get off to you. I'll get with Charlie on that. And we really appreciate you speaking virtually, and hopefully one of these days we'll get you back in San Diego and get you in front of a live audience as well.
Yeah, it'd be neat to be around some of the crews. It's my executive director. He bemoans the fact that with COVID, he used to get out in the fleet 3 or 4 times a year. He's really here to run the shop and run the crew here. But he's an engineer. He likes turning stuff. He likes seeing things. It's been real torture with us kind of sequestered here on the Navy Yard. So yeah, it'd be great to get back out. Great to see you guys. And hopefully we can stay in touch.
Great, thanks, Ed.
Yep, out here.
Let's see, let's go back and pick up some announcements that we were going to make. Keith, I think you've got one about the t-shirts and stuff. I'm going to stop the
Yeah.
recording at this point.
Okay.